Welcome back to the deep dive. Does this sound familiar? You feel like you're running, I don't know, three completely separate lives, like the high achiever at work, right?
Yeah.
Then maybe the totally drained person at home. And then there's that spiritual side you keep meaning to get to,
Mm.
but somehow never do.
Yeah.
If that rings true, then, well, this deep dive is definitely for you. We're talking about that feeling of burnout, the pressure of overwork, and this constant nagging sense that, succeeding in one area just means failing somewhere else. It's a huge modern struggle, right? How do you actually harmonize it all? So today we're trying something, well, unique. We're looking to shortcut maybe decades of trying to figure this balance thing out ourselves. We're diving into a specific source, the book Muhammad, the timeless model of success for everyone in the AI era.
And that title, it's quite a claim, isn't it?
It really is. Linking a 7th century model to, well, to us now, in the AI era, it sets a massive bar. So our mission here is pretty clear. We want to pull out a kind of blueprint for what the sources call integrated success, holistic balance. We're basically asking three big questions. First, how did the prophet, peace be upon him, actually model balance across family, work, and worship?
Right, the practicalities.
Exactly. Second, why is balance, not just frantic activity, the key to what the sources call Barakah, that divine blessing, that lasting positive impact?
That's a crucial distinction, balance versus burnout.
Totally. And third, maybe most importantly for you listening right now, what are the concrete takeaways, the non-negotiable lessons for us, modern professionals, dealing with all this high-speed pressure?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the core idea we find in these sources, it really challenges our typical Western ideas of success, doesn't it? The ones driven purely by metrics.
So?
Because true success in this model, it's defined as integrated success. It's not just about, say, your bank balance or your job title.
Okay.
It's holistic. Success is defined by having strong, intentional family bonds, by contributing meaningfully with integrity in your work and community, and crucially, by having a genuine, sustaining spiritual practice.
So less about maximizing one score, more about harmony across the board.
Precisely. It demands a shift. Moving away from just chasing the highest possible numbers toward achieving this fundamental alignment. And when you get that alignment, the sources suggest that Barakah infuses everything you do.
Barakah. So actions have more weight, more positive ripple effect.
Exactly. Lasting impact, positive consequences, even a spiritual dividend, you could say, regardless of whether it makes headlines or not.
Integrated success. I really like that framing. It forces a rethink of our metrics, definitely. But I have to push back a little here.
Okay.
The common narrative, especially in leadership circles, is that huge achievement demands huge sacrifice, right? Like family just gets the scraps of your time and energy. These sources seem to fly in the face of that.
They absolutely do. They challenge that narrative head on.
So if success is integrated, where do we even begin to build that?
We start, as the sources clearly guide us, right at the foundation with the family.
Okay, starting at home. That feels counterintuitive to the usual climb the ladder advice, but very deliberate.
It is deliberate. It completely undermines that whole idea that great leaders have to be, emotionally or physically absent from home.
So when we look at the prophet's life, peace be upon him, as this model, what jumps out first about his family life?
What jumps out is this concept of the model of presence. It wasn't just accidental time, it was intentional, dedicated time with his wives, with his children, his grandchildren.
Intentional meaning scheduled, or
Yeah.
just mentally present.
Both, really. But the intentionality showed up in, well, surprisingly humble ways. The sources give us some really rich details here, like the clear example that he didn't just spend time with family, he actually helped with household chores.
Okay, helping around the house. Why is that highlighted?
We have to put it in context. Think about 7th century Arabia, a society with pretty rigid social structures. For a leader, a statesman, a military commander, to be doing practical domestic tasks. Tasks may be seen as women's work or beneath someone of his status. That's revolutionary.
Ah, I see. It's not just about the task itself, it's the message it sends, breaking down those hierarchies.
Exactly. The psychological impact is huge. It shows he's contributing practically, that he's emotionally accessible. It tells everyone in the household, this sphere, the domestic sphere, it isn't separate or lesser, it matters.
It dismantles that idea that the only important work happens outside the home.
Precisely. When a leader, someone revered by everyone, is mending his own clothes or helping get food ready, It confirms he values the process of maintaining the home, not just benefiting from it. It's an exercise in humility, in practical empathy.
Which are leadership skills, right? Just exercised at home.
Absolutely. Non-negotiable traits for leading anywhere, really.
So it reframes that domestic stuff entirely. It's not a sacrifice of his important time. It's actually investing in his leadership character.
You've got it. And beyond the practical help, there are these deeply human stories, anecdotes that show real emotional connection.
Like what?
The sources often mention him standing up whenever his daughter, Fatima, may Allah be pleased with her, entered the room.
Standing up. Just that simple act.
Think about it. It's a physical gesture, yes, but it's profound. It communicates respect, honor, prioritization. It says, without needing words, despite everything else going on, you, my family member, have my immediate full attention and respect. That consistency builds tremendous psychological safety.
Wow. I think, most of us listening can probably recognize that gap. We might be physically home, but our minds are, still back at the office, running through emails or planning the next day. How do the sources suggest bridging that mental gap? How to be truly present?
They show that real presence allows for something else, too. Playfulness, and playfulness needs mental flexibility.
Playfulness from a major leader and prophet.
Yes. We see him carrying his grandsons, Hassan and Hussein, on his back, even sometimes during prayer. Or, having lighthearted races with his wife, Aisha.
That's unexpected.
It shows he wasn't some distant, purely serious, ascetic figure. He was deeply human. His spiritual practice wasn't a barrier to joy. It actually grounded him so well that it gave him the flexibility and the joy to be fully present in those loving human family moments. The spiritual depth enabled the presence and the playfulness.
Not just seriousness and detachment.
Ah.
Okay. So let's bring this back to, the listener. The person with the demanding job, struggling to switch off work mode at the front door. What's the big so what?
The so what is the direct link the sources draw between engaging fully with your family and your competence as a leader in the wider world?
Okay, spell that out.
The sources basically insist that family life, loving your family, engaging actively at home, isn't separate from leadership. It's actually the primary training ground, the laboratory, if you will.
How so? What skill?
Think about managing a family. It demands incredibly sophisticated skills, doesn't it? Resolving conflicts quickly, often under emotional pressure, deep emotional intelligence to understand different needs, lots of patience, the ability to really listen, not just wait for your turn to talk.
It's true. It's complex.
So the idea is if you can navigate those complex, high-stakes emotional dynamics at home with grace, with fairness, those skills are directly transferable. They're scalable. They're essential for leading a team, a community, an organization.
So my home life isn't a distraction from becoming a better leader.
It's the proving ground for it. It's where you build and practice the core emotional and ethical muscles you need everywhere else.
That completely reframes the whole work-life balance debate. Family time isn't taking away from leadership. It's investing in it.
Okay.
You make perfect sense. And it leads us right into the second pillar you mentioned, work and professional life. If success is integrated, then our work ethic has to align with those values we hone at home. Right?
Exactly. It has to be coherent.
Today, work often gets defined just by, the bottom line,
right.
Profit, or maybe your title. How did this prophetic model define work? What was its ethical core?
Well, the model defines work primarily by how it's done and why it's done, its conduct and its intention. The sources are quite detailed about his early career.
Before the prophethood.
Yes. Starting as a shepherd, a role requiring, solitude, responsibility, real consistency, and then later becoming a successful merchant, a trader.
And what was key then?
What's crucial is that before any divine revelation, his reputation was already solidly built. He was known everywhere as Al-Amin.
Al-Amin, the trustworthy.
The trustworthy. Think about that as a professional brand today.
Yeah, in an age obsessed with brand management. His brand wasn't about slick marketing or high volume. It was just ethical consistency, honesty.
Trustworthiness.
Exactly. That reputation, being fundamentally reliable and fair, became his core professional currency. And it lasted through everything that came later, all the huge political and spiritual changes.
So the lesson for us professionals now is that your integrity, your core ethical character, is probably your single most valuable professional asset, period, no matter your field.
Can you give examples from his trading days?
Sure. The sources mention things like always being upfront about any flaws in the goods he was selling, sticking strictly to the terms of agreements, even if circumstances changed, never going for a quick, shady profit if it meant damaging long-term trust.
That kind of consistency. It builds capital, doesn't it? Not just financial, but social and political too.
Absolutely. That deep well of trust built over years and years of ethical dealings is exactly what allowed him, later on, to mediate that potentially explosive dispute about placing the Black Stone back into the Kabul wall. Everyone trusted him to find a fair solution because his track record was impeccable. Professional integrity built political capital.
Okay, so his early work was in trade, but then his role shifted dramatically. His work became much broader.
Immensely broader. It shifted from commerce to, well, the huge work of governance and comprehensive community service.
What did that involve?
Oh, everything. Judicial responsibilities settling complex disputes between tribes, individuals, always aiming for impartiality and wisdom. Sophisticated diplomacy and statecraft negotiating treaties, managing relationships with other powers in the region, and yes, military leadership guiding armies, which itself requires strategic thinking and ethical conduct in warfare.
Wow, so his work became this all-encompassing ethical service, managing basically every aspect of a community's life.
Yes. Trade, justice, diplomacy, strategy,
Yeah.
it all fell under work as service.
But let's zero in on the concept that really flips the script on how we view our careers today. This idea of integrity making work a form of ibadah, worship.
Yes, this is absolutely foundational. The core lesson here is that work, any legitimate work, is elevated. It becomes ibadah, an act of worship, an act of devotion, when it's done with integrity, with skill, and with the right intention.
So how does that work? My job becomes worship.
The moment you perform honest, quality work, aiming to do it well and ethically, it transcends the purely economic transaction. It becomes spiritual. It's not just about earning a paycheck. It's about serving people, upholding truthfulness, contributing positively through your professional actions. The effort, the diligence, the honesty itself that becomes the offering.
That's profound. It means that spreadsheet you're working on, or the customer you're helping, or the code you're writing, if you do it with excellence and integrity, it's actually an act of devotion.
That's the essence of it, yes.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate again, put some tension here. We're in the AI era now. Speed, efficiency, optimization. These often seem to trump integrity, don't they?
They certainly can. The pressure is immense.
A CEO today might say, look, if I prioritize absolute integrity on every single point, especially with things like AI offering shortcuts, my competitor who is willing to cut ethical corners will just eat my lunch. They'll gain market share. How does this 7th century model speak to that kind of intense modern pressure?
It speaks to it directly by fundamentally changing the definition of winning. It redefines the measure of success itself.
How?
The sources basically mandate that true success, the kind with Barakah, is only possible if it aligns with your core values. So when AI offers some hyper-efficient shortcut that maybe skirts ethical boundaries, or when market pressure screams for you to compromise your principles, this model insists, no. The way you do the work, the moral conduct within the work, is actually more important than the final number on the balance sheet.
So if the process is corrupt,
Then the outcome, no matter how big or profitable it looks on paper, lacks Barakah. It can't be considered true success in this framework. The commitment to integrity acts like an ethical brake or maybe a governor on the sheer speed and power of modern tech.
the integrity of the process validates the outcome.
Wow.
You know, in a time where trust seems to be eroding everywhere, deepfakes, misinformation, algorithmic bias, maybe having a reputation like Alameen, the trustworthy, maybe that's actually the most valuable and frankly the most scalable asset any professional can have today.
I think that's absolutely right. It becomes a differentiator.
Okay, so we've covered the ethical foundation in work, built on that trust earned. And we've seen how family life is the training ground for the emotional skills needed. Now, the third domain, worship. The sources seem to frame this as the engine, right? The power source that fuels the other two.
That's a great way to put it. The engine of resilience, the source of stamina.
So what did his spiritual practice actually look like? This was someone leading armies, governing a state, dealing with intense pressures. What kept him anchored?
Well, the key wasn't sporadic, intense bursts. It was consistency and depth. The sources highlight several core practices.
Such as?
First, there was the commitment to regular night prayers, tahajjud. This is a time typically deep in the night for solitude, deep reflection, focused connection with God.
Okay, so dedicated time for deep connection. What else?
Second, there was systematic fasting. Not just the obligatory Ramadan fast, but frequent voluntary fasting too. This builds discipline, self-control, and importantly, empathy for those who have less.
Discipline and empathy. Got it. And third,
Third, and this is maybe especially relevant for us today, was the practice of constant dhikr.
Deeker, remembrance of God.
Yes, remembrance of God, keeping God in mind throughout the day.
The night prayers and fasting sound like distinct, scheduled activities.
Mhm.
But constant deeker, that sounds different. More like an underlying awareness.
That's exactly it. It's not just about setting aside specific times, though that's vital too. Dhikr is like, well, maybe like a mental background app. It ensures that spiritual awareness isn't just confined to the prayer mat or the mosque.
Oh, it goes with you. Into the marketplace, into negotiations, into family life.
Precisely. It's a constant mental recalibration, a way of filtering your thoughts and actions through that spiritual lens moment by moment. You could argue it's the ultimate training for focus, really, a direct countermeasure to the mental fragmentation we all feel from constant notifications and context switching in our digital lives.
That's fascinating. A mental technology for focus. Okay, but this raises a potential issue, doesn't it? A point of conflict, maybe?
What's that?
Many of us, I'm sure, have seen people, maybe leaders, colleagues, acquaintances, who become very intensely spiritual, very devout. But in the process, they seem to disconnect. They become isolated, maybe even judgmental,
Mm.
or just sort of detached from everyday responsibilities.
Ah, yes. The potential for imbalance the other way.
Exactly. Did the prophet's intense devotion, peace be upon him, lead to that kind of disconnect? Was he ever too holy for the practical demands of leading a state or being present for his family?
That is such a crucial point, and the sources are very clear on this. The answer is a firm no.
No disconnect.
No. His intense devotion did not translate into spiritual isolation or neglect of duties. In fact, he actively discouraged extremes of asceticism if they meant abandoning responsibilities to family or community.
So he warned against that.
Yes. His spiritual practice was deeply personal, absolutely. But its function, its purpose, was ultimately outward-facing. It was meant to fuel his capacity to serve others better, to manage all those complex duties without crumbling under the immense pressure.
Okay, so that's the balance check. If your spiritual practice makes you less available, less empathetic, less reliable to your family or community, then maybe the practice itself, or how you're applying it, is flawed.
That's exactly the implication. The sources frame devotion not as an escape from the world's demands, but as the power source for engaging with them effectively. Worship is the engine. It fuels resilience, mental clarity, the sheer stamina you need to excel in family and work.
So when things get tough,
That's when the spiritual battery, kept consistently charged, provides the bedrock. It stops you from complete emotional or ethical collapse when you face huge setbacks at work or deep conflict at home. It allows a leader to absorb enormous pressure without losing their core perspective or compassion. It's the ultimate sustainable self-care, really.
that completely flips the usual approach, doesn't it? Usually when things get busy, worship or reflection is the first thing we cut.
Right. We see it as optional, a luxury.
But this model says, no, that's precisely when you need to lean into it more, because that's where the resources to handle the increased load actually come from.
Precisely. You don't cut the fuel supply when you need the engine most.
Okay, wow, let's try and pull this together then. This feels like the core structural lesson. We've seen the three domains, family, work, worship. But the real magic seems to be in how they connect, right? Moving away from seeing them as separate boxes on a checklist.
Exactly. Moving away from compartmentalization, which, let's be honest, many of us, especially high achievers, are masters at.
How do you mean?
Well, you have one persona for work, right? Maybe aggressive, results-driven.
Yeah.
Then a different persona at home, maybe tired, distracted, just trying to get through. And then maybe a third reflective or religious persona you put on for an hour on Sunday or Friday or whenever.
Yeah, I see that switching masks.
And the psychological energy it takes to maintain those separate, often conflicting identities. It's immense. It's draining. It's like having energy leaks all over the place.
So the prophetic model, based on these sources, it just gets rid of those separations.
Yeah. It does, by defining a single, unified purpose or mission that underlies everything. The sources are really explicit here. The prophet, peace be upon him, didn't live three lives. He lived one unified mission,
Which was?
serving Allah. But serving Allah through the different lenses of family, work, and worship all at the same time. They weren't separate compartments.
So there wasn't a work mode switch and a home mode switch that needed, like, an ethical reboot each time.
Exactly. There was just service mode or integrity mode. And that single mode just expressed itself differently depending on the context, whether he was mediating a trade dispute, leading a prayer, playing with his grandchildren. The underlying principles of compassion, justice, patience, devotion were constant.
His behavior in the market reflected his devotion. His kindness at home was part of his service. It all connects.
Perfectly put. It's all integrated.
And the sources warn against living three conflicting lives. That seems vital.
Right.
But I have to ask again, practically speaking, isn't achieving this focus with harmony, especially now in the AI age, a bit utopian?
It's definitely challenging.
I mean, take a modern leader, a CEO of a global tech company. They're dealing with crises across time zones. They're on call 24/7. How do they genuinely integrate quality family time or deep spiritual reflection when the demands are just relentless and instantaneous? We need more than philosophy here, right? We need concrete boundary tactics.
That is the critical question, absolutely. And you're right, integration doesn't mean trying to do all three things at the same instant. That's just hyper multitasking.
Which leads to burnout.
Exactly. And the sources would argue that kind of frantic multitasking actually destroys Barakah anyway because it kills the quality and the intention behind the actions.
Okay, so integration isn't simultaneous action. What is it then?
It's about ensuring that the core values, integrity, patience, presence, devotion are applied consistently across all domains. And crucially, it's about fiercely protecting the boundaries between those domains when needed.
Boundaries. Okay, tell me more.
Let's take your AI example. The pressure in the AI era is towards constant, immediate context switching, isn't it? Check notifications, respond instantly, never really be fully present anywhere because you're always half thinking about something else.
Yeah. Mental fragmentation.
The prophetic model counters that directly, with this powerful emphasis on focus with harmony. When he was with his family, the sources suggest he was fully there, present. When he was dealing with matters of state, he was fully focused on that.
Singularity of intention within each domain.
Yes, that focus within the time you've allocated for that domain is the key to integration. It prevents the mental bleed over. It's actually a more sustainable way to live than the efficiency at all cost burnout cycle we get trapped in when we try to cram 3 lives into every single hour.
Okay, so integration isn't some messy overlap. It's about the quality of presence and the consistency of values within clearly defined times or roles. So if I've blocked out time for family, actually not checking work email isn't being unproductive. It's actively protecting the harmony and the integrity of that family time.
Precisely. The boundaries are what enable the focus. They structure your life to support the unified mission.
I'm recognizing that this balance isn't automatic. It takes deliberate effort.
It's always intentional, which leads us right into the practical tools we can use.
Right. So let's shift from the what and why to the how, from theory to actual application. Because as you said, balance isn't accidental. It requires intentionality, structure.
Right. Okay, what tools do the sources suggest for us right now in this AI-driven world?
The sources seem to point towards a sort of three-pronged approach. Practical steps for the learner, for you listening.
Tool number 1.
Tool number 1 is time blocking, which, okay, sounds familiar, right? Lots of productivity gurus talk about time blocking.
Yeah, block out time for deep work, meetings.
Exactly. But here's the twist based on this model. It requires non-negotiable, conscious time blocking for all three domains. Work, yes, but also family, and also worship.
So blocking time for prayer or reflection just like you'd block time for a client call. With the exact same level of commitment. Most of us are pretty religious about scheduling work tasks and meetings. This model demands you treat your appointment for spiritual practice or your dedicated block for focused, undistracted family time with that same level of sanctity. It's not, if I have time left over, it's scheduled, it's prioritized.
That's a huge mental shift, treating family dinner or prayer time like a board meeting you cannot miss.
It is. And it also means defining the digital boundaries within those blocks. So if you've blocked 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. for family time, that block implicitly includes turning off work notifications, maybe even leaving your phone in another room entirely.
Defending the quality of the interaction.
Yes, preventing that digital creep that just shatters the focus and, frankly, the Barakah of the moment.
Okay, so conscious, defended time blocking for all three. What's tool number 2?
Tool number 2 is daily reflection, a kind of systematic self-check-in.
How does that work?
At the end of each day, maybe before sleeping, the core question you ask yourself isn't just, did I make progress on my work projects, or did I clear my inbox? It's more fundamental. Did I honor all three domains, family, work, and worship today? Did I bring quality intention to each?
Like a daily audit for balance.
Exactly. It's an accountability mechanism. If you find yourself consistently shortchanging one area, say you keep skipping your planned reflection time to squeeze in more emails, or you were totally checked out during family dinner again, this daily review flags it immediately.
So you see the pattern before it becomes a huge imbalance.
Right. It allows for quick course correction. Okay, I dropped the ball on family presence today. Tomorrow, I need to make that a specific focus. It prevents the imbalance from becoming baked into your routine.
That makes sense. A constant feedback loop. And tool number 3.
Tool number 3 gets right at the heart of countering this AI-era obsession with speed and volume. It's cultivating the Barakah mindset.
The Barakah mindset. Explain that.
It emphasizes that quality must always supersede quantity in every domain. We touched on this earlier with work, right?
Yeah, integrity over sheer output.
Exactly. Focused, deep integrity in your work is better than just logging excessive hours fueled by stress. Similarly, focused, intentional worship, even if brief, is more impactful than rushed, distracted rituals. And, critically for home life, one short period of fully present, loving interaction with your child or partner is infinitely more valuable than, say, 2 hours of being in the same room but mentally absent, scrolling on your phone.
Quality over quantity. Presence over duration.
Yes. Baraka seems inherently linked to the quality of your intention and the quality of your action, not just the raw amount of time or effort you throw at something.
Wow. Okay, that's a direct challenge to how many of us operate, isn't it? If AI and automation can increasingly handle the quantity, the speed, the volume, then maybe our unique human contribution has to shift towards the things AI can't do.
Like integrity.
Like integrity, deep connection, empathy, spiritual depth.
Exactly. So this whole framework, this blueprint, it's not just about avoiding burnout. It's about redefining sustainable success in a way that leverages our humanity, ensuring the knowledge we gain, the skills we build are actually applied with purpose, not just frantic efficiency. Hashtag outro. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's maybe quickly recap the core takeaways we've pulled from the source material today.
Okay, first I think was seeing the prophet, peace be upon him, as a model of seamless balance. Family, work, worship weren't competing priorities. They were interconnected, mutually strengthening parts of one unified life.
Second, the sources are really clear. Barakah, that divine blessing, that sense of lasting positive impact, it flows from balance, from quality, from intentionality, not from sheer hyperactivity, burnout, or living a fragmented life.
Right. Third, that powerful reframing. Family engagement isn't a drain on leadership, it's the training ground for it, building essential emotional intelligence. And tied to that, work done well with integrity becomes an act of worship, ibadah.
Absolutely. And finally, bringing it to today, especially in this fast-paced AI era, adopting this kind of focus on holistic balance isn't just nice to have. It's arguably essential for sustainability, for resilience, and for achieving a kind of success that feels truly integrated and meaningful. It protects us from the fragmentation and burnout that are so rampant.
Okay. So for you listening, we always like to end with some concrete reflection points, some action notes based on what we've discussed. Think of it as homework, inspired by the source material's emphasis on intentional action.
First action. Try a quick time audit this week. Be honest with yourself. Calculate roughly the percentage of your waking hours you're actually spending on family, and be strict count only the fully present time, work, focused effort, and worship, intentional spiritual practice. Don't just guess. Try tracking it for a day or two, see where the real imbalance lies.
Ooh, that could be revealing. Second action. Plan one specific tangible act of family love or service each day this week. Not just passive presence, but intentional contribution. Maybe it's resolving a sibling squabble patiently. Maybe it's deep listening without interrupting when your partner shares something. Maybe it's actively helping with a chore without being asked. One specific act.
Third, take one of your major current career goals. Examine its underlying intention. Is it purely about money or status? Or can you reframe it or adjust one step in how you pursue it so it more clearly aligns with serving a larger purpose, benefiting people, upholding integrity, pleasing God? Make one tangible adjustment this week towards that ethical alignment.
Okay, and fourth.
Fourth, add one extra intentional worship practice this week. It doesn't have to be huge. Maybe 5 extra minutes of focused Dhikr during your commute. Maybe reading a short passage with reflection. Maybe a brief period of voluntary fasting if appropriate for you. Just one small, deliberate investment in your spiritual balance and resilience. Think of it as topping up the engine's fuel.
Those are great practical steps.
And reflecting on all this, It does raise a final, maybe more provocative thought for you to mull over after this deep dive.
Go on.
If the sheer speed and efficiency focus of the AI era constantly pushes us towards faster acceleration, towards optimizing purely external metrics, how does consciously adopting this kind of Model 1 based on internal quality, deep connection, unwavering integrity, how does that fundamentally change your personal definition of productivity, of legacy?
Hmm.
What lasting difference does truly integrated success that honors your faith, your family, and your work actually make, compared to just achieving temporary, fragmented goals, possibly fueled by burnout?
So what does this all mean? I guess it means the real challenge of our time for professionals isn't just about mastering new technology.
Hmm.
It's about mastering ourselves, our
Hmm.
focus, our boundaries,
Yeah.
making sure that all our speed and efficiency are guided by our deepest, most integrated values.
Well said. Hopefully, these insights provide a solid blueprint or at least some inspiration for building that intentional balance in your own life.
We certainly hope so. Join us next time for another deep dive into the sources that matter.